All right, let's get started. Looks like it's just you and me today. So far, people will notoriously show up late, which is fine. Um, Before I get started, is there anything you want me to kind of cover? I see you're still muted. All right, well, I'll just jump in. So part of the how I want to have this set up is I'll go over a couple things that we're working on, and then I'd like to open it up for questions and things that you're working on, and then I can show you kind of what we're doing. One of the things that I've appreciated about Lofty is that they constantly are updating, and so we get software updates. I've used other softwares where maybe once a year, maybe twice a year, they'll get some software updates, and they're not necessarily, I don't know, they're not necessarily driven by what needs to happen right now, right? So it's kind of like an initiative that maybe they, because I understand programming takes a long time. So maybe that it took them 6 months to really come around to get something done. And by the time it's rolled out, you're like, okay, well, that would have been helpful 6 months ago. Um, One of the biggest things that I've noticed with Lofty, especially recently, is that some of the updates are really timely. If you don't know, and I'll just kind of show you this, if there's ever a time where you're like, look, I wish I could do this, all you have to do is right here where you have this question mark, you have these options right here where it says suggest a feature. So if you hit suggest a feature, these are two features that are being, as it says, under consideration. So you can look at these things and kind of go, okay, well, what are they working on? And I can click on this and I can say if this is important to me or not, right? So the idea is that I can vote on this is basically what I'm doing. And so right here it says lead family member contacts. We're considering adding an option to separate family members as their own contacts. I'm already liking this, right? While thinking them so that you can see how they're related. I've used other softwares before where I could do that. So I would say this is a critical piece. And then it says how important, why do you need this? For me, I like to see, right? So now I'm able to vote on this. I can put in my email address, um, submit, good. Now I have to confirm my email apparently, which it's kind of funny considering I'm logged in, but it is what it is. I'll let them do their thing and I'll confirm the email. To submit your idea, click the link we sent. So I'm checking my email on my other screen here. Confirm the email. All right, done. It says thanks for your input. Now I can close this. Now, the other one says avoid accidental duplication. Currently, multiple agents on the same account could be attempting to call the same lead at the same time. So that's maybe something I want to do or not do. This shows you what's planned. So if you're wondering what's coming up, I mean, this is a big list of, these are approved. This is coming. Individual tab for properties. It's kind of cool, but you can kind of get an idea of what's down the pipe when you're looking at this stuff. One Lofty account with multiple websites. I like that. Smart plan email listing variables. I saw somewhere on here that they're looking at a potential for being able to set up your property alerts with, yeah, there you go, send listings via text message as a standard. So we're considering adding the ability to send automated property alerts via text. Currently, we only support the ability to send these via email. I'm on here going, yeah, I love this. I think this would be awesome. So I'm going to submit that. Boom. I got to do that again. All right. That's fine. No big deal. So I'm going to confirm that email. So I'm recommending you go through here from time to time and browse the ideas that they're working on. Browse what they're doing, and then this just kind of shows you recent releases. So scheduled email, that's huge. Social Studio on the mobile, we have added a mobile version of the Social Studio to the mobile app. So if you use the Social Studio, that's on there. If you're look, I need to be able to do something, just click on this and submit your idea. So these are critical ways that you can push new ideas and get the system to work the way you want it to work and have it work for you, because they do take into consideration everything that's in here. Now, I wish there was a way I could see what I submitted, because I have submitted some ideas, and I go in here every once in a while to see if maybe my my ideas are in here in the planned stages or in the under consideration. And I'm just looking through here real quick, and I don't see any of my ideas in here quite yet, but you know, it is what it is. But get them in here. I mean, you can see this shows you what people are saying and which ones are important. So looking at this, I would say that this one here, it's got a lot of votes. This one here has a lot of votes. This one here has a lot of votes. So this lets you know this is probably coming up, the under consideration. This one's not as critical to people, and this one is somewhat, but it's, you know, it's increasing in volume. As it gets more hits, it'll go into the plan stage, basically. And then this is probably how they figure out what's going to be next. That's just ways that you can make this program better, right? So I want to go into the segments again. This is one of my favorite things about Lofty. Just going to be completely honest with you. Segments to me are a game changer. Most CRMs, when you go into a contact record, so I always like to go into my own contact record with just my information. That way I'm not showing any of my clients' information. But basically, when you go in your typical contact record, what ends up happening is your options for reminders are very minimal, right? You have tasks, and that's it. You can't really do much more than just categorize and say, well, you know, which pipeline are they in? Like, what's their temperature? And you can put that into a pipeline, but you can't really build a follow-up program based off of it. So I really like the segments, and the segments allow you to go in here and really take a look at what it is that you're looking to do, right? And so I've recently built out an entire Sphere campaign, and the campaigns are triggered when the person is added to these different sphere of influence levels. And so as you can see in here, I have it set up where my A+ people I'm reaching out to, this is telling me to reach out to every 30 days. My A's, B's, and C's are every 90 days. So that way I'm getting at least a quarterly touch with everybody that's in my sphere. And then my D people, I just, you know, they're in there, whatever. They're just getting dripped on. I don't need to spend my time calling them. Just categorizing that way has allowed me to do that. And then my follow-ups, so this is my past client sphere of influence, and then these are my prospects, basically, or my, you know, my active leads. And based off of, you know, where I think they land, you know, the people who are super hot, they're looking to do something less than 30 days. I want to reach out to them every 2 days, so I have the reminder set for every 2 days. My hots, you know, they're looking to do something in the next month or so, so I don't need to reach out to them every 2 days, but once a week is probably good. If they're 3 to 6 months out, maybe twice a month, because I don't want them to forget about me, and I don't want to forget about them, just to be completely honest. That goes in there. Now I've got a lot of different segments, and I clean it up and play with it, but as you look, I've got segment after segment after segment. And so what I did to kind of clean this up was I went there in here and I pinned the ones that I use most often. So you're able to go in here, and this says unpinned, but corner marker. What I'm going to urge you to do, if you're going to go through and go through the pinning process, is understand that the first one you pin will show up here, and then the second one will go on top of it, and then on top of it. So like when I was going through here, I pinned this first, and then that, and then that, and then that, and then that, and then that. So I stacked it that way. If you don't do it that way, you're going to end up with it in the reverse order that you wanted to, so that when I'm in my contact record, do I still have that open? If I'm in a contact record, when I go to segments, I want these to be right up on top. And so my ones that I use most often are going to be right up on top. That's what I'm looking to do with that pinning process inside the segments. So that's a key piece. Now, you may be asking, okay, well, what do you mean that you set up a trigger based off of when you put somebody into a segment? So let's look at doing a smart plan real quick. If you're creating a smart plan, you've got all these different little options to trigger them, because this is where the rubber meets the road when it comes to these plans. Is you don't always want to have to always manually add them. You want some of these things to just happen automatically for you. Automation is absolutely key to, in my opinion, to success in follow-ups, in keeping in contact with people, all that stuff. And so if I'm adding all my people as an A+, I'm going to go with a standard plan, which is fine. If you're an individual agent, you can just, keep it as a personal plan. If you're on a team and you want to set it up for everybody, you can set it up as a team plan. And basically what you're going to do, and this is something that was new too, right? So this used to just be like, it had one option and you would just select the ones that you wanted it to be for. Now you can say, if you hit =2, =2 is basically what it's saying is, if you checked multiple like that, =2 means it's got to be exactly these three. Includes all would be, it's kind of the same thing. I like this one. This one's more of a catch-all. Include one of. So include one of, I can be like, okay, this is for, buyers, sellers, investors. I can click off the ones that I want, and then it just needs to grab one of them. So if the lead comes in and it's only tagged as a buyer, as a lead type, include one of will make that work. And so I use the include one of more than I do anything. Now, if I had one that was specific to agents, I would just go =2 agent. I want to make sure that's only for an agent plan, right? Or a landlord plan, or a homeowner or investor plan. So whatever those different lead types are, that's how I'm going to set that up. But for this instance, because it's my past clients and my sphere, it could be any of these people. I'm going to include one of, and I'm just going to leave all of them. I'm going to check all of them. And so the trigger, you've got all these different options, but the one for this one is segment changed. Now you can do pipeline changed as well, but for this instance, you want to do segment changed. So all I'm doing is segment changed, saying it's been added to with any of the following segments. Boom, done. So now, whatever I create inside of my actions, anything that or anytime I take a contact record person in my database and I add them to that segment, what it's going to do is it's going to automatically trigger this campaign. Now, what I'm recommending to do as well, and this is where it takes a little bit of work, is you should also have a plan that you have to set up a separate smart plan, or do it this way where it pauses it. So one, you want to auto apply, but two, you want to have it auto pause. So you don't want the plan to continue going if in fact you change something. If they, now if it's my sphere of influence, I don't want to do this. I don't want to have it. I want them to respond, so I don't want to use that as a trigger. I don't want to use that as a trigger to pause. Now, if I change their pipeline, maybe I do want to change it. Tags were triggered, the smart plans are deleted. That triggered smart plan. So if it was set up if the trigger was a tag and those tags are deleted, then I want to pause. You'll see the source of lead changes. So think about it from this perspective on this particular instance that we're talking about. I've got a lead and they're an A+, right? They're a contact. And so they're inside my highest level of my sphere of influence. And I added them into the system based off of them being put into the segment of A+. Now, you'll notice that changing segment is not an option here. So in this instance, I can't auto pause this if I move them from A+ to C. I'd have to go in and manually pause the campaign or delete the campaign because maybe I don't want to put it on the same clip that it was on because I did that. So what I have to do is that I'd have to go in and say, so you can see my trigger was added to A+. That's my trigger. So this campaign is triggered by being added to SOA+. Now I would also need to create an SOIA removal campaign so it automatically pauses anybody. So I would, in that instance, I would go create a new plan. So let's just pretend I did that. And instead of having this be when added, it would be when I removed it. And so now the campaign would say, okay, well, let's pause this campaign. Let's remove it. And, so let's just say that this is what we're doing. And I would go to actions. And my first thing would be start smart plan would and maybe I'm going to move it to another thing, right? And so, sorry, change segment. So you can see I can do it through this types of process. So when I move it in there, it's going to automatically do that. And that's how I would do it, if that makes sense. Or if you're like, okay, well, I'm not seeing that, all you have to do is just add like a task. So if you're looking to add a task inside of a smart plan, this is where the other comes in. This is typically where I add tasks. And while I'm in here, I'll show you this too. There is a difference between an auto email and an email. Because I've had people ask me that, well, what's the difference between an auto text and a text? Well, in this instance, if you hit text, you basically, what you're doing is you're putting in, let's see, we'll just say, let's see what it comes up with. All right. So it automatically wrote that for me inside the AI. But what'll happen is this would come up as a task, and then it's your job to manually copy and paste and send that if you're using just the text piece. If you want it to automatically send, you would basically take this exact verbiage, go to auto text, give it a title, paste it in here, and at that point, it would automatically send. This is good for like new lead campaigns. So like if you're using like any types of, online lead gen, social media, Facebook, all that fun stuff, you can have that trigger. And then I like to use these variables. And so, you put your lead name, Bob, how you doing today? In fact, what I'll find is that I've got this one campaign. I'll show you guys this real quick. If I can find it. I got a lot of plans in here. But basically what it does is as it goes through the plan, it asks, So you can see I use a lot of the automation, right? So auto. So creates the property alert, sends an auto email, hi lead first name, there it is. I mute the AI assistant, I change the segment, I send an auto text once again, hi lead first name. By the way, would you want to live? This is all auto text. This is a call that schedules. So this is important. This becomes, anytime you have it as a call, like, so email, text, call, other, checklist, these things are that don't just automatically happen. They don't pause the campaign per se, but it'll stop here if you don't complete the task. So I tell our team all the time, look, you got to do your tasks daily, because what'll happen is you can see, if you look at the timeline, immediately. So you have 4 tasks that happen immediately. This one happens in 10 minutes. This one happens in 30 minutes. So now we're only 40 minutes from this lead coming into the system. Here's another 27 minutes. I set it to these odd numbers because I don't want it to ever look like sending everything like at the hour, on the hour, like too much of an increment. So by using some odd numbers, it's not, I don't know, not that anybody really pays that much attention to it, but I don't know. It's just something I've done. But now we're over an hour, and then this call comes in. So this is all day one. We're over an hour. This call says, okay, let's try calling this person again. You should have already tried to call them when the lead comes in, as part of being a best practice. If you don't do this, it gets frozen here. And so what's supposed to happen in an hour after doesn't happen. What happens was supposed to happen the next day doesn't happen. What's supposed to happen, days after that doesn't. All the rest of this stuff just doesn't happen. That's the way the plan is designed. And so at one point, you'll see I've attempted to reach out to them for, a decent amount of time. And then this one goes out. This is blank, right? I hope I don't have the wrong number. I get more responses to that question than I do almost all the previous texts inside these campaigns. Because it's kind of like a reflex, right? People are like, all right, well, yeah, it is me. And then you'll notice too, so the second day, I have it set to unmute the AI. So what I've decided was that I didn't want the automated, like my stuff, my phone calls, my text message campaigns, and I didn't want the AI piece to simultaneously be hitting this, these leads up. I didn't want it to appear as if they were being bombarded. In fact, what you'll see in one of the first campaign pieces that goes out right here, it says, my assistant Anna will be reaching out to get some info. So I kind of refer back to it, or I kind of give them a heads up, like, hey, more than me is going to be reaching out. Now, if they read that, then they'll see it and they'll go, okay, cool. And then they'll continue the conversation. If they don't read the text, then, c'est la vie. But we found this to be pretty helpful, because what we would get before this was people going, who is this, to the Anna piece, and having to now jump in and like kind of explain, or whatever. So that's reduced that tremendously. So that's this campaign piece. And like I said, it kind of keeps going. And then the last step is, I've got this campaign. It says, okay, let's start this smart plan, which is buyer no response. And then it basically has the AI take over. Because at that point, it's like, there's really no reason to continue. On my end, this is software's leverage, right? Software's supposed to buy you time. Now, I do have it send it to inside of here. They're in a prospect list. And so I have a prospect list that I can call through, and I know how, often I'm calling through that list through my segments. But at that point, all I'm doing is just trying to call them, a couple times a week, just trying to connect with them. And I can just go next, next, next by having that automatically move into a segment that does that. So that's this kind of piece on how to set up, trigger, and some, thoughts behind some of the logic behind, what's going out, going out to these people. Because the idea is you have different kind of messaging being sent. And so, inside of one of these, you'll see, so this one's designed like for new construction, right? And so one of the pieces goes right here, right? So by the way, new incentive programs came out that could save you up to 20,000 or lower. Your interest rate on a new home build. Would you like me to send the details? We get a response to this one quite often. A lot of people say, oh yeah. And then my agents will go, well, how do I respond to that? So my response to them is let's go back to, once again, into my contact record. I have it set up where you can send a text, and inside of here, you've got your, oh, not that one, not the house, sorry. Inside of here, you've got your templates, and inside that template is response to incentives question. So you click on it, and it automatically answers the question and gives them that next piece that they're looking for. So don't be afraid to use these templates, because these are really critical, right? And so like our lender, if people say, yeah, I need a lender, boom, I hit this, and it sends our lender's information to them. So I don't have to constantly copy and paste it or look it up. I'll send these things. This is a template. There's one that we use a lot where it's like, is this the correct email? So if you've got a person who is going through, so for instance, you can look at your engagement, and if you see, well, obviously I use this as samples, so I send myself a lot of tests on this. But if you see something like, 50 emails sent, 0 opened, I'm going, okay, well, they're responding via text, but I'm not seeing anything open. I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to hit, is this correct email? And have that go out. Hey, Len, I saw some updated homes over the past days. Wanted to make sure the emails are getting through. Is this best email for you? And then it'll send it out. And I can hit send. So these are little shortcuts that you can build. And to set that up, I believe it's the settings. Hang on. Under templates, yeah, so you got your text templates. And so there's your auto welcome text template. People say, I want to be able to change that. Go ahead. Change it right here. No big deal. You can have it set to go out just during certain hours. I've got mine set from 8:30 to 8:30. I don't want this going out at 1 a.m. So that's set up that way. The text templates for the team are all set up in here. So depending on, where it came in, this is where these are all at. So, here's that updated home list, the lender's information. Are you getting my emails? Is this so that's another one I have, is this one. So I have 2 different ones that I kind of choose from. This one says, hey, lead name, I wanted to make sure the homes I'm sending you via email are coming through. Here's the link to what I've been sending. And so I'm actually sending them a link. So how I do that is, if you're in a contact record, for instance, and I'll just go to the website just to kind of show you. But if you're looking, and you're on a website, you're on the website, or you're inside the contact record changing things, and you're looking at stuff, and you want to send them some properties to look at, what you're doing is you're basically setting some filters. I don't like to send anything but active. I don't send active contingency. I don't send any of that stuff. I only send active properties. Nothing drives me nuts more than people going, oh, I really like this one. You're like, oh yeah, that one's sold. I hate sending rentals, because that just not what I'm looking to do. And so I've done my search, and I've put all that in. I've set my price. So here's the 86 properties in Tempe that are listed for under 400. Now I want to send the link to this, but look at this. This thing's nuts. You cannot send that. This is just way too big. So I use this program called short.io. So I can click on this, and then I just hit shorten page, and then it gives me a shortened link. And then I can send that to my client via text message, and then send them that. And then what happens is, what's cool about it is that when I'm sending them these links, they have to sign in to be able to see it. Because if they start opening up too many properties, what happens? This happens, create your free account. So they can continue, they just, they hit this login, whatever they did before. And so I'll be working, and all of a sudden I get a little notification kind of like that. And it just says, so-and-so has looked at, it's something like this, this person has searched. So it starts piling up as opportunities. So what I like about sending them this way versus, maybe through my MLS or something like that, is I know that they're looking at it. And so I've had times where, maybe you've got that lead that goes silent, and you're like, okay, well, I want to just see if they'll look at this. You send them a house, and then 5 seconds later you see them open it, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna call them. I know they're active, I know they're looking at stuff, so let me take a look at this and see what they got going on. So those are a little couple shortcuts to help you. Michael, did you have anything specific you wanted me to cover? I don't know if you know how to unmute, or if I can you want me to unmute you. I can ask to unmute. Let's see if that works. All right. Well, I'll cut it off here then. I mean, I could talk for hours on this stuff. But for today, we'll just cut it off here. If you have any specific questions, feel free to, reach out, send any messages. You can shoot me an email, len@loyaltyhomegroup.com. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have on anything, and, go from there. So that's it. Thanks, everyone.